Cool, that's how I know where the people are in. Howdy. Welcome to your Sunday afternoon beginners yoga class. Really happy to be with you guys today, really proud to be with you guys today, and feel quite honoured to be with you guys today, delivering these wonderful snippets of information across the Camden Wellness Expo. Super excited that we got this opportunity to go online. This event will happen in a physical space in the future, but it's really great to be coming to you today. Now, just let me have a quick, just make sure that this live stream is working okay. I've just got a couple of settings, sort of information thingies that are coming to me now about my camera. So now stream action needed. Okay, frame rate is too low. Okay, just bear with me a moment, people. Facebook's just notifying me that it just wants me to tweak a couple of settings on my camera. We do a lot of live streaming here from the studio, but we don't use Facebook for that, and so a couple of these settings for me are just a little bit foreign. Okay. Alrighty. So sorry guys, we'll get there in a moment, I'm sure. While I'm quickly scrolling through this and just trying to get these settings sorted. If you haven't met me before, my name is Karl, and I'm the owner and I'm the founder of One Big Heart, the yoga. We're a yoga studio in Camden. Perhaps you're familiar with us. Perhaps you're one of our students. We have over the past 4 years had the wonderful opportunity to meet 4,000 odd people, and we see about 1,500 visits a month that come through the studio here. And today, I kind of want to make this. I kind of want to make today really interactive for you guys, and make this quite the educational experience. So, what I wanted to do was just perhaps see if I can use my phone as well, and that way I can talk to you guys whilst I don't need to be at the computer so much. Okay, that's me seeing myself. All right. So, really, what I wanted to open today with is just a little bit about a bit of a conversation about what yoga is about. I think as people we have lots of interest in certain things, but perhaps we don't necessarily go out and pursue those pathways because I suppose it's a little bit of a mystery. Yoga's not so prominent out here in the west of Sydney, and I suppose that there's a bit of fear of the unknown. I'll talk about myself for a moment. I'll talk about how I found yoga. Yoga for me was actually offered through the workplace many years ago. I've been practicing yoga for about 10 years now, and the studio's been in operation for about 4 years now. And at the time, I was heavily involved in training in the gym, and I thought that yoga might be a really good way for me to sort of start to stretch out my body, because we all have that idea in the back of our head that we should stretch our body out. And I was starting to get a lot of injuries from my training in the gym, and so yoga was offered to me through work, and I took that on initially because of the what I thought would be the physical benefits of joining in on something like that. You could say for me, it was kind of, I think I was a bit lucky in the sense that I landed in front of a really amazing teacher on my first time around, and for me, by the end of my very first class, I was sort of laying there towards the end, thinking, what is this? There was immediately I had a really deep resonation with the feelings that came to me through yoga. They talk about we talk about yoga being a practice of relaxation and things like that. And it is, in a sense, but it's a bit hard work. It's a bit of hard work to get to that place, And so the practice for me really landed straight off the bat, and then I pursued it. It's brought some wonderful things. It's brought some wonderful things to me, and basically, I left my career of 15 years in IT to pursue now what is a career in yoga. This is all that I do. And I think with everything that's happening for us at the moment, with the pressures of the world that are on us, around us at the moment, yoga is really more and more relevant than ever. You could say globally on a whole, the level of anxiousness of humanity is increasing. A lot of us are stressed and we don't even know it. And this goes for me as well. Often I still experience emotion. I still experience stress. I still get angry. I still get sad. Yoga's not like a blanket that smothers these things out. But it is a tool that helps us deal a lot better, so that perhaps we're not so reactive, and we can find a little bit more ease in life. And so, specifically, it looks at getting ourselves into some awkward shapes, right? You know that there's some awkward shapes that are going to happen, right? And yes, there is lots of benefit through that. There's lots of benefit to your body through creating strength and creating a range of movement through your flexibility. Yoga also has a deep philosophy that sits behind it. It has a 5,000-year-old philosophy that sits behind it. And yoga starts to pose the questions to us of not so much what am I doing, but how am I doing it? As our stress levels increase, we tend to get we can tend to be really forceful, and that's forceful with ourselves in our inner conversation, the way that we're handling our days, the way that we're handling our scenarios, and the philosophy of yoga would be one that we're not landing on a yoga mat in an attempt to get good at doing the shapes. When you do the poses for long enough, you're gonna get good at it, right? It's just natural progression. When you have a consistent effort towards something, you're gonna evolve the way that you do something, right? But it's along that process. It's along that process of committing to regular practice that we step into a place of what the yogis refer to as svadhyaya. Now svadhyaya translates to self-study. And so really, we're using the practice to study mostly the way that we're interacting with ourselves, what our interpersonal relationship is like. And, you know, sort of create a bit of space through the mind. So some very specific things will start to happen for you on a mental level when you engage in levels of fitness and activity. Specifically, when you start to activate more and more systems like the strength mechanisms of the body, the cardiovascular systems, it is only those things that will trigger, it is only the combination of those things that will then trigger your endocrine system. Now, your endocrine system is the place where you produce your hormones, right? So if you were to see your body like a chemical factory, to get the right chemicals out of the factory, you've got to put in the right processes and engage with the right things. And then naturally that just happens in your body, right? So things like production of oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, some of these words you might have heard of, you might know of. These are the feel-good hormones. These are the hormones that the body will produce to give you a relaxed state, right? And it's only when you have a relaxed state that you can truly be operating without a great level of reactivity to the world around you. Because, you know, whether we're in this situation that we're in now, or whether when all of this is gone, there's still lots of stresses that's held within the world. There's stresses from your work environment. There's stresses from, you know, your family environment, your relationships, and from your friends. There's stresses that we put on our body by the things that we eat, the things that we drink. You know, things like social media, things like televisions. They're all inner form stresses on your mental aspects. And so, you know, as we advance ourselves as a human race, yoga itself becomes more and more relevant, that we get involved in practices that help us start to learn how to relax. And relaxing isn't necessarily laying down and having a sleep. Of course, there's times when your body does need to lay down and have a sleep, yeah? But to activate the correct systems in the body, we need to engage with things like yoga. Your body doesn't start, your endocrine system doesn't start to produce dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin by you sitting down and watching Netflix. Those kinds of things don't work for it. We think, you know, we think that by jumping in front of the TV or sitting on our phone for an hour or what and scrolling through Instagram, etc., that we're actually relaxing, but we're not. We're not. Those are stresses on the body that are actually making the body produce adrenaline and other hormones that take us into the stress responses of the body. Now, what I wanted to do probably at this point in time is just unfortunately I don't see the feed of. Okay, here we go. So some comments. Let me just take a moment here, peeps, and let me just have a flick through some comments while we go. You know, now what I would love for you to do is, if you have questions for me, people, as we go along, I'd love for you to post your questions in the comments. I'm just going to have a quick squiz through and see if we've got any questions. A lot of hellos. It's lovely that everybody lovely that everybody is introducing themselves. It's great to see so many of you tuning in today. All right, and so no questions as of yet, but if you have a question, please do throw your questions in there, because I want this to be intuitive and I want this to be educational for everybody. You know, one of the things, of course, we're running yoga classes in the studio here at the moment, 25 a week, in an online situation, an online setting. And normally when we're under normal business operations, we're running 35 classes a week. However, we also run workshops on a monthly basis, and so I want to make this a really workshopy type of video for you today, live feed for you today. And with me in the studio, I have my lovely partner, Gemma. Come over, babe. Grab yourself a seat. Gemma decided she was going to meet me down here and practice in the studio whilst I was teaching today, which she does from time to time. And the first thing I said to her when I walked through the door was, "Babe, I'm so glad that you're here today, because I'm going to put you in front of the camera and I'm going to use you as a model." And she went, "But you're here, and you're good. You're going to be fine." Let's talk a little bit about your journey through yoga. Now, you and I did an interview a couple of months ago, where we talked a little bit about your journey into yoga. Let's not go so deep into it like we did in that instance, but how long have you been practicing here in the studio?
It's been 2 years now.
Cool, 2 years.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's great. And you do Gemma's good for about 3 or 4 classes a week.
Yeah.
Usually, that's your levels of commitment. Yeah, which is great. You know, often people ask me when people first find the practice of yoga, and it can get really addictive really quickly, you know. And one of the questions that comes up through new people is how much yoga is too much yoga? Am I okay if I'm there like 5 days a week? And I'm like, yes, you are. Like, get into it, people. You know, get into it. Get right into it. And so, you know, I myself practice. I myself have recently just found a more of a commitment to my level of practice, and I'm myself practicing 4 days a week. So, you know, what you'll notice when I do get into that, and I am gonna get into teaching you guys. I'm not just gonna sit here and talk the whole time, but I just wanted for you guys who don't know me and haven't been to the studio to get a feeling for what's going on. Now, so what that's where I was going with it. What you'll notice is when I teach, except for in an online setting, when I teach, I don't actually practice a lot, right? I stand and use my words because I want to be connected with people, and I want to be able to have hands on people and things like that. And so I'm gonna do a bit of that today with Gem. I'm gonna get her in some shapes, and we're gonna make some poses, and we're gonna go through a little bit of the flow, and I'm gonna use Gem and just talk to you guys about what's happening in the body and how you should be placing your body. So we'll definitely get into that. So, what do you find, babe, that yoga does for you? Just, you know, sort of a brief little
Bit of a
nutshell. Yeah.
Just more awareness of my body as well, and what it needs. More so what I want it to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paying attention to more what it's trying to tell me.
Beautiful. Okay, and there we have it, right? So I mentioned earlier on that the practice of yoga has a lot of philosophy that sits behind it, and one of the core principles of the philosophy that sits behind yoga, without going into the full depths of it, is self-study, right? And what Gem has just mentioned there is a critical thing that we need to know as people, right? So if I was to ask you, how well do you know yourself? Most people would put their hand up and go, well, it's me, you know, I know, and I came from this space at one point in time as well. Look, what do you mean, how well do I know myself? I know everything about myself. But the truth of the matter is we only know ourselves within our ways of being, right? So, you know, as people, we have tendencies, we have what's the word I'm looking for? We have habits, you know, we have routines, and so we only know, and because they become so regular and they formulate what our life looks like, then we only know ourselves on sort of one plane, you could say, right? I'll give you a really good example, which is really relevant for what's happening right now. So, a lot of people are at home. A lot of people aren't able to work. Good scenario, bad scenario. There's good conversation around both sides of that story, right? One of the things that I notice people talking about is the fact that they are going crazy sitting at home, not having their things to do, and we get all because we're not so used to so much space. Yeah? We're not used to so much space. Often we're using busyness as a distractor from the voice that's running around inside your head. And so this is why immediately when there's nobody around, we do things like we pick up our phone and we start scrolling through Facebook. Because we're stressed and because we don't know what to do with ourselves when we have space. Now, yoga, the physical practice of yoga, as I mentioned before, it's not a performance. It's not there for you to get better at, for you to be able to do a really good downward facing dog. Over time, you will be able to do a really good downward facing dog. The physical practice of yoga takes us into an experience with ourselves. And it starts to increase, as Gemma just mentioned, it starts to increase our levels of awareness. You know, let's all just try something for a moment, and I'll give you a demonstration about what awareness is like. So, just grab yourself a seat somewhere. Of course, you know, you can put your phone down for a second. You don't need to look at your phone. Just hear my voice, right? And so if you grab yourself a seat and you close down your eyes and you just concentrate on your breath for a brief moment, just feel the breath come in and out of your nose. Okay. And now with your eyes still closed, what I want you to do is just, with your awareness, science calls this proprioception. With your awareness, just send your focus into the tip of your right thumb. Just send your focus to the tip of your right thumb for me. And for a moment there, hold your awareness there, hold your focus there, hold your attention. And just see how long you can stay connected with your eyes closed to the tip of your right thumb without pressing your thumb onto anything, without touching it with any of your other fingers. How long can you stay aware of your thumb before your thoughts start to jump in and try and distract you and pull you away from that? And then if I was to tell you to move your awareness from your right thumb over to your left thumb, just by holding your attention there on your left thumb, how much can you actually feel? Can you get a picture, a mental picture of the thickness of your thumb? Of the length of your thumb? Could you, in fact, perhaps get an awareness of the temperature of the skin on your thumb? And then let's just delve a little further. Can you be aware of the temperature of the skin of your thumb? And also aware of the temperature of the flesh and bone underneath the skin? And how about this? Could you actually start to get aware and determine the difference between the temperature of the skin on your left thumb and the temperature of the air around your thumb? Now, perhaps some of you can gel with this. Perhaps some of that is really difficult for you to start to notice. Now, all of that's okay. You can open your eyes now. Thank you for participating in that with me. So now, whether you find that easy or not, all of that's okay, right? But what I just wanted to demonstrate to you is that we have many different levels of awareness, and most of those levels of awareness we're not using enough, and we're not engaging with enough. And now, look, when we engage with a self-aware practice of yoga, things get really different than the gym, right? Based on what your intent is behind your practice. So as an example, Gem goes to the gym. In fact, Gemma is involved in comp work on stage. ANB, Australian Natural Bodybuilder. And I myself have enjoyed a good 10 years 20 years of 5 days a week plus sometimes in the gym, right? Now, the intent behind going to the gym is very different, right? It's like, okay, this is the weights that I need to lift. This is how many reps I need to do. This is how many sets I need to do. And it's all a performance to try and attain a physical change in the body, especially when it comes to like being in competition on stage. Yeah? You have to look a specific way, yeah? And so everything that you're doing in that space is a performance with a desired outcome. Now, when we talk about stepping onto the yoga mat, the actual desired outcome is more like self-inquiry. Like Gemma's mentioning, right? As she practices, her awareness increases. Her awareness increases of things that she needs. We're not very focused on those kinds of things. We have a job. We probably have a partner, and maybe you have some kids, yeah? And we have our community friendship circles, and a lot of what we do throughout our lives is trying to please other people, or doing things like, for example, with work, going out and doing things for a specific outcome, i.e. earning money, and pleasing the boss through that process so you can earn the money. And really the self-reflection space that we have these days is kind of non-existent. And so when we're involved in a physical practice on the mat, I like to describe it as an exploration of yourself. It's not a performance, it's not a demonstration, it's an exploration, right? Yoga takes us on a journey where we go within and we start to look at what it is that I really need to be fulfilled in life. And when we sit there and when we look at that for long enough, the answers become really obvious. And also by sitting in a space of awareness mentally, we start to get familiar with the interpersonal relationship that we have with ourselves. What is it that you really think about yourself? I'll give you an example. I spent for a long time of my life thinking that I wasn't good enough because I was different. I wasn't good enough because I was an idiot. I would often be walking around with a big victim mentality. And now, years down the track from yoga, I fully understand where a lot of these things come from now, and through that understanding I can start to shift and change the way that my interpersonal relationship is. But until we're actually aware of the way that we treat ourselves, we can't make any change, You can't change something that you're not aware of, and yoga provides us space where we can go internal, and whilst we're going through poses and flows and making shapes and integrating breath work, we start to notice what that inner relationship is like. And so, babe, what is some of, if you don't mind sharing with the people, what are some of the things that you notice on a physical level that your body is telling you that you need at the moment? Got anything? And of course, if it feels a bit personal, that's cool. Just tell me.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I just think that at the moment, in the situation that we're all within, I've noticed a lot more things come through. So my back hurts more, my hip flexors are tight, and my neck and shoulders hold all that tension as well. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So and that's like my stress response.
Okay. So as the current pressures of our situation of our global situation are being loaded onto you, and through your practice of yoga is telling you where you're holding tension.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a really good thing to know, right? Because when the body is hanging on to tension because of your stresses, and we all hold stress differently. We all hold stress similarly in that we hold stress in physical components of our body, but we all hold that stress in different places. So you mentioned shoulders, lower back, hip flexors. They can be some of the common ones. Yeah, shoulders, hip flexors, definitely. And so then, to know that your body is holding stress in specific places, well then you can spend some more time and some more attention on those components of your body and start to relieve that physical production that's happening in your body, because that moves the energy through you, and it creates the space in which you can start to feel okay. Yeah. Let me think about some. So I've been. My practice has been quite different now that I'm teaching online, because I'm demonstrating all the poses, and so and I'm focusing outwardly, so it's a bit hard for me. Okay, for me, one of the things that I've noticed, as I suppose one of the biggest parts of my it's been with me for one of the biggest parts of my life, is that I need to go easier on myself. You know, and maybe you can tell this from listening to me talk. I have a really energetic, robust kind of personality that sits inside of me, and that energetic, robust character sort of Jem will confirm this for you. That takes me sometimes internally to places where I'm continually telling myself I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing good enough, I'm not doing it the right way. And then there's the other things. I reflecting on the past, I can often go to those places of I should have done this, I could have done this. Why didn't I? You know, X, Y, Z in certain scenarios. And so over time through practice, I've really it's that line of inner conversation has really made itself relevant, prominent to the forefront of my mind. And through that awareness, then I suppose, I still might have the thoughts, you know, it doesn't mean the thoughts just disappear, but what it means is that when the thought comes up, I don't necessarily believe the thought, right? One of the things that my teacher used to say to me, his name was Duncan, my teacher used to say to me, you are not your thoughts. You are the person who responds to your thoughts. Yeah? And so, you know, I suppose this is starting to get into the realms of subconscious minds. So, there's two components of your minds. There's your conscious mind, your conscious thinking mind. That is with us all the time. The voice is with us all the time, right? And there's the subconscious mind that's made up of all of your experiences through all of your life, most of which we don't remember because they might have been little glimpses and little snippets, and they create belief systems within us, and the subconscious mind will steer your conscious mind into the way in which it acts and responds. Now, one last thing I want to talk to you about before we do start to get into some physical practice, because I realise that it has now been, we're now getting on in time. You know, I mentioned to you about my time in the gym. You know, I've been trained in the gym 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week for a good 20 years. And recently, 2 years ago, I had a big accident on a skateboard. I had a head-on with a car at about 40 k's an hour, and I wasn't wearing a helmet, and I fractured my skull. And you know, the me of 2 years ago, as soon as I had a brain bleed for 3 months. You know, and I was always. I programmed myself to be in the gym all that time, because you know, I suppose there was I suffered from a lack of self-acceptance. That I needed to look a certain way to be accepted by the rest of the world. And so, you know, after after a month or so of having this fractured skull, I decided I needed to go back to the gym. I didn't feel right not training because it was a conditioning that I'd created within myself. And so I went back to the gym, and you know, look, I've been doing yoga for 8 years by this time. I knew the rules, like go easy on yourself, don't expect fucking miracles, you know. And what I found was that actually it was absolutely not the right time. 1 month after a fractured skull, it was absolutely not the right time. And how did I know that? Because I kept catching myself just sitting on a bench in the middle of the gym, kind of not dazed and confused, but off in la la land, right? And sometimes for like 10, 15 minutes, and then and also physically finding things a real struggle, getting short of breath and stuff like that, and starting to be a bit dizzy and things like that. And so, you know, what I did was actually I stopped going to the gym altogether, and I really delved deep into a yoga practice, and even needing to take that really, really gently. But without that level of awareness, you know, there would have been a former version of me that would have been like, just go and just keep lifting and you'll get better. This is just, you're just feeling this because you haven't trained for a month. And you know, I think that often as people, we're pushing ourselves in the wrong direction through habitual patterns. Yeah. Like, you got a, is it a bulging disc that you have in your lower back at the moment?
Yeah.
Yep. You're still training, right?
Yeah.
In the gym?
Well, at home.
Yes, in the home gym. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're training very differently.
Yeah, very.
Is there a and I myself have experienced lots of injuries through the gym, and I know that there would be a time where I would go, okay, I've hurt myself, I'll go to a chiro, see him once, or a physio or whatever, have one massage, and then I'd be back in the gym and just lifting. Very detrimental to the physical self. Yoga is, let's just bring this back on track and let's get into a physical practice. Some of the components, the two main components that we focus on in the physical practice of yoga are the breath and the posture. We focus on the breath because when you give your mind an attachment to start to think, to focus on, it helps sort of dull that continual inner conversation. And same with the physical shapes, you know. Some of the physical shapes, I mean, you probably don't really need to say this, some of the physical shapes that we take in yoga are bloody hard, right? And we're going to hold them for a long time, and the muscles are going to burn, and the body's going to sweat, and all those sorts of things, right? And so now there's this sort of cat and mouse game that starts to happen, because when the body is doing that, the mind wants to ramp up and bring up all your stuff. And if you can hold a constant soft or constant focused breath that's you know, both strong and delicate at the same time, then you provide yourself a space of awareness where you can start to monitor and understand how you react when you're in a place of confrontation. Big part of the practice. Now, let me just jump before we jump into this physical practice. Let me just have a look. All right, so a couple of questions here. All right. So we have a question. All right. Nikki, love your vulnerability and your authenticity. Thank you, darling. Nikki also has some lower back and some hip stuff. Yep, sweet. We use yoga to fix all of that. You know, we can use yoga to fix all of that. Is it okay or better to do light exercise before doing yoga? Well, I mean, now that's from Mufaza. I hope I've said that right, Mufaza. So today we're gonna jump into some vinyasa yoga. Vinyasa yoga is a very, very strong practice, and you're gonna sweat and you're gonna breathe a lot. And I would say that you definitely don't need any physical exercise before a yoga session. It is within itself this version of the practice. We teach a couple of different ones in the studio. This version of the practice is very strong. The other one that we teach is called Yin. Now there was another question there about how our online program works, because we are running an online program right now while we're in lockdown, which is great for people who have never been to yoga before, because it kind of takes away that fear factor of walking into a room of 20 other adults and feeling like you don't know what the hell is going on, right? So, you know, we've actually found that so many people have taken up the practice of yoga through this lockdown time because they can access it from their lounge room. And our teachers do a really good job of delivering online classes. Now, that was the only questions that we had from there. Okay, so let's jump into a practice. Now, I'm going to get Jem to do the physical stuff, and I'm going to sort of float around her and just talk to you and guide you through what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and some other, some key points of what's going on. So, if you guys have a yoga mat, cool, roll your yoga mat out. If you don't have a yoga mat, that's cool, just use the floor. We take socks off for yoga. We will grab a hold of feet from time to time. But another thing is your socks can be slippy. Now, normally when I'm teaching online, I have a feed of people's cameras as well. Not everybody turns their cameras on, but I do have some camera feeds coming back at me, so I can see some stuff that's going on, and I know that things are landing. But in this live forum, we don't have that. So, and I won't be able to answer the questions and do the teaching at the same time. So, feel free to put questions up. But I will answer them. I will answer them after. I will endeavour to answer them after. Okay. So head over here onto a mat, please, babe. Let's get these people moving. That's probably enough of me talking for a while. I don't know if I covered any of the things that I had planned to, but here we are. Come down into child's pose when we're back. Cool. Okay. All right. So child's pose. Child's pose is the place where you guys are going to start. Now, what does it look like? Jem's got her knees are wide and her big toes are touching. And just stretching her arms out nice and long. Now, so, some of you might be familiar with these shapes, cool, go with it, but also tune into some of the finite sort of adjustments that we might take, and maybe there's some things in there that you can learn from today as well about where you can activate, where you can switch off. And so now, once you've rested down into your child's pose, just start to breathe, people. I want you to breathe in and out through your nose. And so that you can use a bit of a breath count, like you want a bit of a inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that's in and out through the nose. You want to build a bit of a rhythm, and you want to get that. You want to get that inhale and the exhale to sort of mirror themselves in their length and in their delicacy. So fully breathing in and fully breathing out. Cool, take a full breath in and give yourself a big breath out. Okay, so you might notice things like, just with some breath work there, that feeling of the body starts to change, right? The feeling of the body starts to change. Okay. So give yourself a big breath in. This time take a big open mouth sigh. Great. And build yourself up into a tabletop position. You're just going to walk the knees a little bit, stack them directly underneath your hips, stack your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Okay, and then come into a cow pose and have a breath in, babe. Okay, so cow pose, the belly's going to drop towards the ground, the sit bones are turning up towards the sky. Gem's also rolled the front heads of her shoulder back and slid her shoulder blades together down into the spine. Okay, so breathe in while you're here. Cool, okay, and then go into the cat pose and exhale. So Gem's going to now hug up into her abdomen. She's going to scoop her tailbone underneath and the shoulders come up near the ears. Right? Now, have a breath in and come back into the cow pose, baby. So there's a squeezing and an activating of the back line muscle. And then come into the cat pose. So there's a switching on of the abdomen. Cool, now move with your breath. Go cow pose, inhale. Sweet, and cat pose, exhale. Cool, and you're just looking to keep going, babe, with your breath, just get a bit of flow happening there, right? And so you're looking to start to feel into what your spine feels like today, right? Check in with what your spine feels like. Super important thing that we gather information about our physical self regularly to know that, as Jem said before, we're doing the things that we need rather than the things that we think we should be doing. Okay, now just come back into a neutral spine, please, babe. Epic. Okay, and then take this into a plank pose, please. So plank pose is going to be top of a push-up. All right? Now, it's critical that you push your arms fully down, your hands fully down into the mat so that your shoulder blades start to peel open across your back, yeah? Tuck up, press up a bit more, baby. Press into my hand, there you go. Okay, but bum down, bum down, bum down, bum down, press here. Yep, cool. So feel your shoulder blades expand open. Okay, now nice straight line. Now, some of you holding plank is going to be a nightmare, and that's okay. We do modifications, right? Put your knees on the ground, babe. Boom. Okay, so that's a modified high plank. You're just going to get a little bit more in line. See Jem's shoulders still stay forwards of her wrists ever so slightly. Cool, okay. Come back up into a high plank, please. Full plank, please, babe. Great, okay. And then come down to low plank. Now watch this one. We do these ones a lot. Okay, so Jem's whole body is staying off the ground. Her elbows are hugging in. Okay, press back up to high plank. Ahoy! On the knees. Cool. Real good. Okay, so now, Gemma is a strong woman. She is a bodybuilder who is involved in competitions, and she uses her knees to press back up. I have teachers of 15 years who do these high to low plank transitions still on their knees because that's what their body needs, right? When we do things to the full extreme all the time, often we're taking ourselves into place of injury because the body's not necessarily structured right to be able to handle that. Okay, so now we've got a modified high plank, right? But press up, babe, so your scapula aren't winging. Okay, cool. Breathe in for me. Cool. Come down to low plank. Now watch, Gemma's hips are going to stay off the ground, off the ground, off the ground. Cool. Okay. Now go all the way. Bang. Great. Okay, take a little cobra pose, please, babe. So in cobra pose, we're going to squeeze the elbow tips in, and we're peeling the shoulder heads open. Right? Okay, place your forehead back onto the ground. Okay, toes into the ground, knees into the ground. Hips, take your hips off the ground about 2 centimeters. Cool, and now press back into the plank. The name of the game is don't let the hips touch back down. Press into plank. Cool, and then come into downward facing dog, please. Sweet. Okay, now just for the people, roll back on forwards into high plank. Watch this. Shoulders just a little bit forwards of the wrist. Heels directly over the toes, right? This is the length of your hands and feet for a plank pose. Breathe in, babe. Cool, downward facing dog. Hands and feet don't move, right? That's setting the right distance. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to feel comfortable, but that's setting the right distance for a downward facing dog. Now, one thing I see happen a lot is that people get in a down dog and they want to lock their legs. Unbreak your legs, swim, babe. Yeah, cool. Like Jem has a good range through her hammies because she does practice 3-4 times a week. But did you notice her heels touch the ground? Go, touch them. Sweet. I've been practicing yoga for 10 years. My heels don't touch the ground. And that's not because of tight hammies, although my hammies are tight-ish. That's because of things like bone structure, right? So the heels are off the ground, the knees are bent. Definitely, definitely. Now, take this now. It's really crucial for shoulders that you roll your triceps back towards that wall behind you. They won't turn all the way, but you want to start to feel like you're peeling your shoulder blades open. Now, fingers spread them super, super wide. You press all 10 of your fingertips into the ground. Now, a spot that we often miss is the knuckle of the index finger. The hand, I often see hands start to flare up off the mat, like TP kind of hands. People are trying to save the discomfort through their wrists. Actually, you've got to go wider through your fingertips. Think about spreading some of that weight from the heel of your hand forwards into all of your fingertips. Okay. Cool, babe. Big breath in for me. And you're going to walk forwards to the top of the mat, please. Epic. Okay, now come into a forward fold. Now, bend your knees a lot, people. See this? You don't have to lock your legs out to stretch your hamstrings. We get some strange ideas in our heads of what we're supposed to do, as far as just simply for the fact that for the lack of education that we have around how the body functions, right? So bend the legs so that your belly can touch your thighs, because otherwise, when you're coming into your forward folds, you're injuring your lower back, right? Go lock your legs out for me, babe, just briefly. Sweet. Now see how this space has started to creep in here? And Gemma's lower back is now curving big time, right? Bend your knees. Great. Okay, now that can get her lower back just a little bit flatter and more into its natural curvature. Okay. So if your rib cage doesn't touch your thighs, you bend your knees more, and you bend your knees more, and you bend your knees more until it does, because the last thing that you want to do is do disc injuries in your back. Okay? It's terrible, isn't it, babe?
Yeah.
You've got bulging. She has a bulging disc right now. But having said that, you know, I've had people come in here with 3 ruptured discs, and in 6 months we've fixed them in yoga and got them, you know, got people, like, as an example, just sitting in a chair. One of our students couldn't sit in a chair for 2 years, couldn't have dinner with her family. She had to eat at the kitchen bench while the family sat at the table because she had 3 ruptured discs. And 6 months of yoga, and finally she would sit in a chair that she'd never been able to do for 2 years. Okay, so this is your forward fold, and it's important that you look after, you go with the feeling rather than what you think the shapes are supposed to look like. Now, coming to a halfway lift for me, babe. Don't straighten your legs like that. You know better than that. Cool. Okay, so halfway lift. This is another shape that we take a lot as well. Now, the shoulder heads peel back, the shoulder blades squeeze in, yeah, and the sit bones are turning up towards the sky. Okay. Fold forwards for me, please, babe. Sweet. Okay. So go again. Half lift, inhale. Just do a few of them with your breath. Sweet, and fold. So the structure of the legs aren't changing at all. This is a flexion of the quadratus lumboris, the lower spinal muscles. Sweet. Okay, go again. Halfway lift, inhale. So what Jem's trying to do is start to like ski jump ramp with her back. Cool. Fold forwards, exhale. Great. Okay, go again. Halfway lift, inhale. Wonderful, really good job, babe. Step your left foot back to lunge, please. Sweet, and let's make it, let's just fingertips for a moment. Cool. Okay, now so we've got a long, low fingertip lunge. Sweet. Now, what Jem has done here is she's framed her front foot with her hands. What we'll do is we'll show you some bad movement patterns so you can sort of work out, so that you can realise where it is that you might need to fix some stuff up. Okay, so step back into a actually let's come into a half crescent lunge. Just drop the back knee to the ground and take 2 hands to the sky, please, babe. Epic. Cool. Okay, so Jem's front knee stacks directly over her ankle. That's important. She stays tucked on her back toes. I stay tucked on my back toes. Some people, depending on your kneecap, you're going to need to, you'll untuck your back toes because your kneecap might hurt. Now, what Gemma is also doing here is turning on her glute muscle on the left-hand side. That helps her pull the front of the hip points up. So, now, let's go into, so this is a really good quality looking crescent lunge, half crescent lunge. Let's have a look at what half crescent lunge looks like on Instagram. Push, 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 reach, bang, 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 bang. Okay, this half crescent lunge looks really pretty on Instagram, but it's really bad for you. So what's the difference, you ask? Well, Gemma is now really crunching into her lower spine. And Gemma also has her knee starting to shoot out past her toes, putting severe pressure on the patella tendon. So, how do we fix this stuff? You come back, cool, and you have your tailbone scooping down and your hip points scooping up. Now that's quite, you've got quite, okay. You should also push your back foot into the ground, and that's going to help you try and drive that hip crest forwards. Cool. Okay, so go along with us and make the shapes so that you can feel into the things that are happening. Okay, from there, babe, just a big breath in for me, please. Cool. Okay, and step back into plank pose. Great. Okay, big breath in again. Okay, chaturanga or low plank. Let's do the modified one for the people. Most of you guys are going to need to do this on the knees, right? On the knees. Go chest to the ground, hips are last. Epic. Take the cobra pose and inhale. So Jem's going long through her feet, and her feet are pressing down while she creates expansion across her collarbones. Yeah, and then come back into downward facing dog. So you tuck the toes, hips go first, boom, nice one, good work, babe. Okay, let's just walk forwards to the top of the mat. Bend your knees a lot when you walk forwards to the top of the mat. Great, coming to halfway lift. So flexion of the spine, ski jump ramp, good. Fold forwards and exhale. Okay, just step back the right foot to lunge. So big breath in, reach your right foot, bang. Now walk your hands back to frame your foot and wriggle your back foot back a little bit so your front knee's behind your ankle. Really good, babe. Okay, coming to half crescent lunge, inhale. Back knee drops, fingers reach to the sky, hip crests pull up, tailbone swoops down. Cool. Breathe in again and get really full across your rib cage. Great. And then step into plank pose. Okay. So just settle yourself into plank, have a big one. If you want to try it with the knees off the ground, let's show the people a bad chaturanga. Okay? Let's show the people a bad. You good with a bad chaturanga, or do you need me to demo the bad chaturanga? Okay, so high plank here, yeah. Low plank, the bad way that hurts your back over time is hips go first, no core activation at all, shoulders are crushing in, elbows go wide like a push-up, and then go lay all the way down. Sweet. That's the bad transition, right? It's good for you to know the bad ones so that you know whether you're doing something that's going to hurt you or not. Okay. And then also, cobra pose. A lot of people take it way too big. Come into a good cobra for me, babe. Cool. Come into a bad cobra, go straight arms, bang. Knees are on the ground, hips, can you leave your hips on the ground or is that going to crunch you too much? Okay, she can't do it at the moment. This is not a cobra pose. You don't need to straighten your arms, right? There's another shape called upward facing dog, but we do it a little bit differently. And we won't talk about that today. Okay, cool. So come back into, now, the good transition from go cobra pose, cool, and go downward facing dog. So, toes tuck, hips come first, see that? And then bang, she's in downward facing dog. Cool. Remember when you get to down dog, you are going to keep the bend in the knees. Sweet. So we would flow all of these little bits of the sequence together, and we make things like sun salutations and a whole range of different sequencing through the practice. So give yourself a really big breath in, babe, and a big breath out. Good one. Okay. Let's go the opposite way and go into a three-legged dog. Take your right heel to the sky. Cool. Okay, three-legged dog. Now, her hip stays closed down towards the ground. Go into a bad one, babe. Flare the hip open. Sweet. No good. Close. Bang. Cool. There's a good one. Okay, now legs nice and long. This leg's straight. Breathe in. Epic. Okay, tiger curl, knee to the rib cage. Step lunge. And come into full crescent lunge this time, please, darling. One. Okay, cool. So Gem's going to keep a little bit of a bend in the back of her knee because she has tight hip flexors. And if she straightens her leg fully, it will crunch her lower back. So the same rules apply. You're trying to pull the hip points up and you're trying to scoop your tailbone down. And it will mean you need to have a little bend in the back knee. Okay? Sweet. All right, give yourself a big breath in. Cool. And then go warrior two. Exhale. Okay. Now, Gemma did one really important thing here in the warrior two. She walked her front foot across to the middle of the mat. So that now her front foot and her back foot, they're on a tight, if there was a line painted down this mat, they'd both be on it, right? Tightrope stance, we call it. The other one's called train track stance, where your front foot, your right foot stays on the right side and your left foot stays on the left side. Okay, so knees stacking directly over the ankle. Come in a little bit more, babe. Good one. Sweet. Okay. Now, make sure you get a good amount of heel pressure on your front foot down into the ground so that you're not getting super quad dominant. Plant your heel and you feel your hamstring turn on and you feel your butt on the right-hand side turn on. Feel it? Or that's just because I punched it? Okay. And now, your back foot, you want to plug the blade edge of your foot and you want to lift your inner archway off the earth. And that's going to encourage you to start to actually hug your feet in towards each other, right? Give yourself a big breath, babe. Cool. And then come into side angle pose. No, that's triangle pose. Side angle pose. Cool. You got it. Epic. Okay, so we're going the side angle pose. The angle we're talking about is from these fingertips down to that blade edge of the foot down the back there, right? Big side angle pose. Cool. Now, you want to peel a hip open. You want to get nice and narrow around your waist. Yeah? So a lot of core work we do in practice of yoga. And you really, now you're starting to really feel the underside of this thigh, yeah? And your bum muscle, yeah. Okay, cool. Good one. Okay. Give yourself a big breath in. Cool. And then come down into low plank. Sweet. Okay. Go all the way to the ground, and then we'll make it cobra pose, please. Inhale. Good job. Okay, downward facing dog. Exhale. Cool. Flow through. We'll flow through this side, guys. Okay. So you get a feel for what the flow is like. Okay. Take your left heel to the sky. Breathe in. Tiger curl the knee to the ribs. Watch Gemma pull her shoulder heads forward to the wrists. Cool. Land your foot lunge. Now, crescent lunge, inhale. Good one. And then warrior two, exhale. Sweet. Now you're going to go side angle pose, not reverse warrior. Side angle pose, inhale. And then low plank, exhale. Good one. Okay, cobra pose, inhale. Big slow breaths, people. And downward facing dog, exhale. Cool, let's keep going with that. Let's flow a little bit more. Take the right heel to the sky. We'll just keep it simple for you guys, right? Crescent lunge. So you tiger curl, you squeeze the breath out. Squeeze into your belly as you tiger curl, land your foot, and then the hands come to the sky on the breath in. Cool, okay. Warrior two, exhale. Hip opens out, blade edge goes down. Let's put reverse warrior in this time instead of side angle pose. Reverse warrior, inhale. So she's going to reach to the back foot now, yeah? Okay, and then chaturanga dandasana. You do a low plank, exhale. Cool, okay, and we're going to add in this time instead of a cobra pose, upward facing dog. So Gem's kneecaps are off the ground and she's on through her tummy. She's hugging in there, yeah? So it's not crunching the back. Okay, downward facing dog, exhale. Gem's just hugged her feet towards her hands to get there. Take your left heel to the sky, babe. Good one. Tiger curl. Step lunge, full crescent. Full breath. Cool. Warrior two. Nice. Reverse warrior inhale. So you're reaching to the wall behind you, okay? Two hands to the ground, low plank. So you're going to spread your fingers really wide when you touch them on the ground. You're going to catch your rib cage with your elbows. Great. And then upward facing dog, inhale. Big full space through your heart. Great. Downward facing dog to empty all the way out. Nice. Okay, let's just roll on forwards into high plank, please. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, side plank, left hand to the sky. So go 2 feet together at the back of the mat. That's your right hand, babe. Yeah, 2 feet together at the back of the mat. Now, what Gem's just done is she's stacked her feet on top of each other there. There's a couple of different things you can do. Side plank can be big for a lot of us. Show them the modified one with the knee drop. Bang. Okay, so her knee has gone straight underneath her hip, right? Come back into the full one. Great. Okay, and then show them the feet split one. So step one, no. Feet on the ground. Yeah, there you go. So you can also split your feet like that. See what she's just done there is gone heel toe with her feet. Cool. Okay, now stack your feet again for me. Sweet. Okay, just for a bit of balance for you, let's go side plank the other side. You doing okay? She's heavy breathing right now. Okay, so stack the feet. Cool. Now, you want to crimp into your obliques. Your obliques exist between your hip, crest, and the last rib, yeah? Get crunchy in there so that this whole side body starts to explode up towards the sky like a harbour bridge. Cool. Breathe in. Great. Okay, and find a low plank. Exhale. Come with me. Don't touch the ground. High plank, inhale. Cool. Low plank, exhale. So you're going to catch your rib cage with your elbows. Cool. Oh, you're sweating, babe. High plank, inhale. Sweet. You haven't trained today, have you? This is going to be it. Low plank, exhale. Cool. Don't look down so much. Keep, yeah, good. High plank, inhale. Oh, we're getting there. All right, sweet. Okay, come back into downward facing dog, babe. Wonderful. Okay, now, that's some of the strength aspects of yoga for you. Of course, there's a lot more, but I spent a lot of time talking to you, and so the physical practice itself is going to be a little bit shorter today. Now, let's just have a brief look at some of the opening poses that we look at in yoga. Well, there's lots of them, but some of the real good ones. Okay, you're going to go and take a right heel to the sky for me, please. Cool, tiger curl. Okay, and go with pigeon pose, right? Okay, so Jem's going to do a pigeon pose that way, and I'm just going to do a little pigeon pose this way. So we've gone right knee to the right wrist, and then pivot the foot across to the left side of the mat. Great, and then you're going to walk the back foot back. So that's a side on view and a front on view, right? Cool. Now, this is really going to open you through the back of the hip compartment. Now, just as with the strength components of yoga, when we're doing the opening components of the yoga, the breath is super, super important. So it's breathing deeply in and out through your nose like it. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Have a few breaths while you're here. And just notice the way that when you try and stretch that part of the body, it wants to hang on. Relax yourself down with your breath and start to imagine that part of the body letting go and releasing, and it will happen for you. Okay, Jem, are you cool to come down with your elbows? Yeah, cool. Come on your elbows, babe. Good one. Okay, untuck the toe. So, soft in the back leg. Cool. Alright. Good one. So a couple more breaths. Now I suppose one of the things that yoga is really, really good at teaching us people is that we can actually master our own inner world, yeah? We can become the master of our domain. We don't have to be so reactive and tense and stressed. We use the awareness to understand where we are, because once we understand where we are inside, well, with our unique intelligence that we all hold, immediately we know or what we need to do to take that blockage away. Okay, so we're just going to go through some of these opening poses just on one side, and if you're practicing along with us, great, good for you. And what we'll do is we'll go through them on one side, and then you guys can have some time after, because I wanted to do a little bit of Q&A at the end. You guys can just, you know, make your way through the same shapes on the opposite side. Okay. So babe, come back up onto your hands, please. Wonderful. And then you're going to send your left foot forwards, please, darling. Okay, cool. Let's just turn face onto the camera for me. So that's your left foot. Okay, cool. Good one. No, straight on, babe. Straight on. Don't turn your body, just turn your foot. Turn your leg. Okay, cool. So, good one. Good, because I do see you do this in class, and I never really correct you, right? So, your foot's not forwards, your foot's out to the side.
Yeah.
Poke it forwards. Move this, move that. Bang, without twisting your body.
Okay.
Okay, so you see here, now your hips are just come offline. Cool, so your hips are going to stay there. Epic. Okay, good one. Alright, now reach to the sky. Great, and then fold forwards. Now, you don't have to grab a hold of your foot, people. Gemma's going to grab her foot today. That's okay, because that's the place that her hamstrings are going to allow her. But like I mentioned to you earlier, you know, we see a lot of stuff on Instagram, and we see a lot of stuff on YouTube and things like that, where the people who are demonstrating yoga to you, they're professionals. They've been doing it for years. That perhaps they come from space. I see a lot of people online who perhaps have come from a space of being a ballerina or a contemporary dancer for 15, 20 years, and a lot of their flexibility is created from childhood ages where they've been involved in those kind of modalities. And so when they're doing their yoga stuff online, actually a lot of it can be dangerous for the body that is not conditioned in those ways. So a fold like this, the purpose is not to grab your foot. If you start and maintain a consistent practice, one day you're going to grab your foot, yeah? But that's not the purpose of the pose. The purpose of the pose is twofold. One of them is to, of course, lengthen your muscles, right? When we start to talk about lengthening or stretching your muscles, it's not the same as creating strength in your muscles. So to create strength in a muscle, we get forceful. We find something heavy, like our body, and we load. We load into the muscle. We're forceful. We need to force the muscle to actually do a little bit of breaking apart so that it can then grow stronger as it recovers. The idea of stretching your body should not be like that at all. It should be the opposite, right? So if to create strength, we use force, length or stretch of muscle being the opposite thing, you want to use a state of relaxation. So please don't grab your foot and pull yourself in there and then go into that space in your mind that's like, I'm so bad because I'm not flexible. You're as flexible as whatever you are, and all of that's okay. So, if you're starting with hands on the back of your knee and slowly walking them down over years before you actually end up grabbing your foot, cool, all good. Okay, now babe, let's just get the people into a half saddle pose. So you're going to sweep your, this is your left foot? Yep, you're going to sweep your left foot back. Cool. Okay. Whatever. Didn't have to, but cool. Okay, so just turn side on for me, please. That would be great. So they can see your foot. Good job. Cool. Okay, so what Jem's done is just folded the left foot back beside her. Now she's not sitting on her heel though, right? Now, for some of us, this can be pretty intense. Perhaps on your knee. With you guys being at home, you would have a bunch of these around, I'm sure. When we're in a yoga studio, we use things like props, like cork blocks, right? But that's just because no one wants to walk into a yoga studio with all their pillows from their house stuffed underneath their arm. It's much easier to carry a yoga block. But you can use stuff from home to substitute as yoga props. So one of them being a cushion. Another really good idea is to roll up a towel. So just pop your bum up, baby. You're going to sit your right bum cheek onto that cushion. Does that feel a little bit better for you? Yeah, great. Cool. Now you're going to walk your hands back behind you. Wonderful. Cool. Real good. Now, for some of you, you won't be able to take this one because the compression in your knee is overbearing and it feels like your knee joint is about to explode. So, for those of you who can't do this one that Jem's in, that doesn't mean you can't stretch your quads, right? You just lay onto your belly and you go that way. So it's the same shape, but you're just taking that severe pressure off the knee, okay? So, in terms of opening poses, we've looked at the pigeon pose, we've looked at the one-legged forward fold, we've looked at the half saddle pose. We'll just keep it with those three for you guys today. So you can go and then do those ones on the other side. Actually, how about you go through them on the other side, babe, and I'll just have so people can watch you, and I'll just have a little bit of a general chat and sort of wrap things up. See if we've got any questions and things like that. So just go through your pigeon and your Janu Shirshasana and your half saddle. Cool. All right, folks. So that Gem there in the pigeon pose, she's just gone with this second foot forwards now. And I'm just going to jump in here and have a look if, here we go. Let's have a look at some comments and some questions. All right. Now, where are we? Okay. The online program has been a game changer for me during this lockdown. Manila, one of our biggest fans. Thank you, darling. Yeah, like I said, a lot of people, you know, the online program makes things really easy because you don't have to do all your zhuzhing up and make yourself look a particular way. You don't have to spend all the time driving to a yoga studio. And but basically, in terms of time, it becomes so easy, you know. You roll out of bed in the morning, you're still in your pajamas, and bang, you jump straight into a yoga class at the foot of your bed, and then you go and have breakfast. So we're doing 25 classes a week online in our online program, and you can get unlimited access to the online program for $35 a week, and then you can cancel at any time. I just need a 7-day notification on a cancellation. So right now, you know, we've still got, where are we? I don't even know what date we are. We're at the 8th. We're at the 8th of August, I believe. So we've still got 3 weeks of lockdown. Who knows what happens when we actually get to that time? You know, there's been a consistent demonstration of the eagerness, I suppose, to extend lockdowns. And so when we come out of this, who actually knows? You know, I mean, look, I hope that it is. I hope that it is soon. But you know, you can get yourself involved with our online program really easy. You just head over to the website, onebigheart.com.au. Go to the main page of the website, and there's two or three different buttons there on the main page that will all sign you onto the membership. It's $35 a week. We do 25 classes a week. Now, those classes are taught by eight different teachers. Yes. And the times of those classes are spread all throughout the day. So you're going to find Monday to Friday, you're going to find a 6 a.m. and a 7:30 a.m. in the morning. You're going to find a 12:15 lunchtime. And then you're going to find a 6 p.m. and a 7:30 p.m. at night. So that's Monday to Friday. And then Saturday morning you get a 9:30. So actually there's 26 classes a week on the schedule. Now we can hold up to 250 students per class in our online streaming session. So there's never any chance that you're not going to be able to book into one. Things work really easy in terms of that whole program, in that you go to the website, you sign on to the membership with the button that's on the main page of the website. Once you do that, then you can come back onto the website, and there's a schedule tab on the website. You go to the schedule tab and you'll see all of those classes that I just described. Now we teach different styles at different times. We teach the strength one that I just gave you a bit of a demo here today, and we teach a relaxation based one, which is called Yin. Now, you go ahead and you book your classes out for the week, and then you receive an email from the system 30 minutes before the class starts. Now, if you book after that 30-minute window, that's okay. You'll get an email 5 minutes before class. The one thing you've got to make sure is that you book at least 10 minutes before the class. The system will shut you out at 10 minutes. You can't book a class any closer than 10 minutes. And people have been giving us really good feedback in terms of how the practice is keeping them in tune. Yep. Let me see if there's what other comments have we got here? Just try and wrap things up for people if they had any questions. Yeah, distractions is one of the easiest and biggest ways we stop ourselves listening to what we really need. Nikki Gunn, yes, 100%. 100%, Nikki. We get so used to being busy that we don't know what to do with ourselves when we've got some time, and that's not a nice feeling, you know. Wouldn't it be lovely to just to feel like you're in the right place at the right time all the time, whether you've got your phone with you or whether you've got your friends standing next to you, or whether you are out in the middle of the bush nowhere by yourself. It'd be lovely if you could feel like you were doing the right thing and being in the right place all the time. And essentially you can find that just by shifting your inner relationship through the practice of yoga. Now, did anybody have any specific questions around that little flow that we just, okay, here we go. Now, just this some of the physical aspects. Okay, I have skinny wrists, and even when I spread my fingers, the plank pose still hurts if I have to hold the pose. Any suggestions? Right. So, let me just scroll back up so I can see myself and I can see what I'm doing. Yes, it is going to take a while for your wrists to condition. It is going to take a while for your wrists to condition. Just like if you go to the gym and you start curling biceps, your biceps are going to hurt for a good couple of weeks when you're trying to build that muscle, right? And then each time you go up in the weights, maybe your muscle starts hurting again. So your wrists will condition to loading lots of weight on them. So let me talk about hands and when they're connected to the ground for a moment. So, because we do touch hands on the ground a lot in yoga. It's plank pose, it's downward facing dog, there's a whole heap of stuff going on. Now, so if you were to think about your hands with 3 circles, little dot in the middle, medium-sized circle, big-sized circle. What you want to do is get the pressure in each of those circles the same, right? So fingers are spread super wide, but active, yeah? So you're actually trying to, your face is in the way, you're actually trying to press all 10 of your fingers into the ground, not to lift your knuckles, not to lift your knuckles. That's when your wrist is going to hurt more because you're increasing the angle of your wrist. So you're flat, and you want to grab you're trying to grab the ground with all 5 of your fingers on each hand. See, just pressure at the end is going to be what helps your wrist. But they will come good. They will come good. Okay. Makes me realise how much strength I've lost lately when when working through and accepting that's okay, and that's a challenge. That's just from those few little shapes that we did. Yeah, I realise now that I've been holding some of my poses a bit incorrectly. Thank you for stepping us through these poses. No problems, Sam. Yeah, no problems. A lot of the time we're creating injury in the body just because we're not aware and we might not have been told before, and so we're continuing to repeat bad habits, really. Sam also had some things around the wrists, yep. Nicole joined the lockdown last year and she loved it. Thank you so much for joining us, Nicole. I was going to ask about the last pose, the half straddle. Was it with a pillow? The half saddle. Yes, half saddle. If you just jump back into half saddle just do it side on without the pillow to start with. So Nicole, just for you, just for that quad stretch called half saddle. There, Gem's got herself in it now. So her foot is outside of her hip, just there. Her foot is outside of her hip. She's not sitting on her foot. And then the pillow, if you find, now you don't have to use a pillow, but you might, if you feel discomfort, you might use a pillow. Just grab a block for now, babe. It's just closer to you. Yep. Cool. So when the left leg folds up, the pillow or the cushion goes underneath the right hand side and vice versa. When you fold up your right leg, then you're going to put the pillow under the other side. Now walk your hands back, babe. Walk a bit further, bit further, bit further. Can you go to elbows? No. Can you go to one elbow? So you've got left leg bent up. Go to right elbow for me, please. There you go. Cool. So now some people will be able to lay fully down onto the ground. I sort of go in and out of being able to do that and not being able to do that because I also have some tight hip flexors. And so sometimes if I lay all the way to the ground, it's going to pinch in my lower back, so I don't. But a good way to start to get more and more of a stretch is go the opposite elbow to the ground, and then over time maybe you start to get 2 elbows to the ground. Cool. Okay, and you can come up from there, babe. Now, All right, I think that's it for our questions. Let me just have one last little scroll through. Susan says hi.
Hi, Susan.
And Corinne's put up some of our pricing information. Thank you so much for that, Corinne. That's great. Now, people, I am available on. I'm available via Facebook Messenger all the time. I'm available via Instagram. A really good channel for you to start to read a lot of mindful sort of material would be our Facebook page or our Instagram page. So there's posts daily. Some of those are inspirational quotes. Some of those are pictures. Some of those are videos. But the message that's delivered through the comments of these posts is really provides an introspective position where perhaps we can start to think about some of the ways in which we relate to ourselves personally and in ways in which we relate to the world, the external world. So be sure to follow our Instagram and our Facebook to get daily posts with just little tidbits of information, reminders of how you can be adjusting some of the ways that you are to make things easier. Because, as I mentioned earlier, whether we've got the pressures of our current situation or not, the world is always going to load pressures on us. Now, I heard Russell Brand describe this so wonderfully. Russell Brand. He said, the external world will continue to challenge you as it must. It's kind of like, as a human we have the contract with this world that the world must challenge us, because that's where our growth comes from. Just like a muscle, when you're doing your physical practice, your muscles grow from the challenge, and your mind and your heart, they will also grow from the challenges of this material world that it puts upon us. Now, thanks, Nikki. Great to see you. Happy Sunday to you too. If you want more information about the online program, do definitely go to the main page of the website, because it's all written out there. It'll describe it all. What did you want to leave? Did you want to leave the people with anything today, babe?
Other than have a great day.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really glad that you came here, so that we could just make this a little bit more interactive for people, so they can see what's happening. So thank you so much for that. Wishing everybody all the best, especially at the moment, right? Especially at the moment. As I said to you, I'm always personally available via Facebook Messenger or Instagram through the business page, or if you want to, or reach out to me personally. I have noticed, and I've always said to our students here, like I am available. I'm always available. If you need help, reach out. I have noticed a great trend at the moment of people actually finally biting the bullet and reaching out and asking for some help, or just getting some shit off their chest, and whatever it is. Don't be afraid. If you need help, don't be afraid to reach out. I can feel the increased depression and anxiety of the world right now. It is rife. It is full on. And as for how long this situation goes, we don't know, right? It's never too early to reach out for help. One of the things that I think we get ourselves stuck in a place before is like, okay, well, I haven't had any suicidal thoughts yet, so I'm not gonna go and pick up the phone. It doesn't have to get that bad, I'm hearing from a lot of people who are finding themselves very stressed and frustrated, and that's making them anxious and aggressive and sad and crying at the drop of a hat for no reason. Like, all of the feeling inside of you can be eased with some yoga. It's about learning how to breathe and learning how to move. And when we learn how to breathe and learn how to move, we're learning something about this immaculate conception of a human body that we've been gifted. And we're learning, most importantly, we're learning that sacred art of self-practice and the abilities to adjust one's interpersonal relationship. You'll find if you want to do some more yoga and you don't want to just jump straight on and sign on to the program, you go onto our YouTube channel. You'll find some sequencing on the YouTube channel. You'll find some educational videos on the YouTube channel where I've taken a whole lot more poses and I've broken them down individually. They're very educational. And I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you're taking a real lot away from all of this online expo. Big thanks to Charmaine in pulling this idea of an online expo together. Thank you so much, Charmaine, for providing everybody a space where we can get in front of them, even though they can't be in front of our physically in our space right now. I would really urge you to take a good look at our online program, and whether you think that it's going to be something amazing or whether you think that it's something that you're a bit uncertain of, dive in. Honestly, yoga will change your life. Much love to you all. And if any more questions come up over any periods of time, shoot them all through. Have a great Sunday afternoon, and go and get yourself involved in some more amazing seminars and classes from the other practitioners that are involved in the Wellness Expo. Much love from one big heart. Much love from all of our teachers. Much love from Gemma. That's okay. No, thank you for being here, because you made things really good, really easy for me. Have a beautiful afternoon, people. Catch you on the flip side.